Big up. Big up. Got a lot of news to talk about. Saudi Arabia Grand Prix. Oscar Piastri, a winner again. Oscar Piastri, top of the driver's title. What a drive that was from Oscar Piastri. Brilliant drive from Oscar Piastri. The Australian, first Australian in a long time to lead the driver's title. Congratulations to Oscar Piastri. Calm down. Calm down. Now, we're going to get into this Formula One. Get the right song on. I know I got it somewhere. I'll find it in a minute. We're going to get into the Formula One. We're going to get into the race day review as we always do. It's a bit late, but there was a lot on the channel, and we're doing it now. Because there's no F1 really for another week or so. So I decided, you know what? There's no hurry. We can take our time with it. And that's what we're doing it. Take our time with it. So, Oscar Piastri, race winner of the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. That's 2 races in a row for Oscar Piastri. Big up to Oscar Piastri, future world champion, I'm sure. I'm sure we all know as race fans, we know that Oscar Piastri will be a world champion. He's got the mentality to be a world champion. Big up. Big up to you, Mikey K. Yeah, you know what? That's what I just did now, bro. I've just watched it back myself and I've done a few notes and I'm now going to talk about it because when it came on before, bro, I was watching, it came on a similar time to the football game. So I was watching the women's football, I was watching the men's football, and I was watching Formula One as well, 3 at once. And I was kind of multitasking. So I couldn't really put the notes down, but now I rewatched it twice. Got a few notes and I'm going to talk about it today. But big up to you and your family, bro. Mikey K. I hope I pronounced your name correctly. No, my luck, I probably haven't. But big up to you and your family. Remember to smack that like button as well. Now, let's get into this. Now, before we start getting into this, we've got the journalists like Palmer saying that if it wasn't for the penalty, Max Verstappen would have won. But you can't really say that, can you? You can't really say that because at the end, Oscar Piastri got the 2 fastest sectors just to prove to people he still had time in the pocket. So I think if Oscar Piastri, just say Oscar Piastri was in front and there wasn't no penalty and he just got in front fairly, what he should have got, because let's face it, Max Verstappen cut him off. If it wasn't for that, I think that Oscar Piastri still would have won because Oscar Piastri, for me, had a lot more time in the pocket and he proved it at the end. Facts are there. Go watch the race and you'll see at the end where Oscar Piastri smashed up the first 2 sectors. So in my opinion, I think Oscar Piastri had a lot left. He was just saving it. When you're in front, why do you need to burn out your tyres? There's no need for it. There's no need to do that. And that's just my opinion. But you got people like Christian Horner. Christian Horner hails the most competitive race for Max Verstappen to date and insists that the Red Bull is faster than the McLaren. That's from Christian Horner. He's saying that the Red Bull is faster than McLaren. Who's he trying to convince? Is he trying to convince himself? Is he trying to convince Max Verstappen? Because he knows when next year comes, when the Red Bull won't be the fastest car, when Red Bull will have that, what should I say? The new Red Bull engine. He needs to hold on to Max Verstappen. And he knows when next season comes, when the regulations change, you're going to have Aston Martin. You're going to have Mercedes. They're going to be sniffing around Max Verstappen. There was already sniffing around Max Verstappen last season. Remember that? There was already sniffing around Max Verstappen. So, he's going to do whatever it takes. He has to suck up to Max Verstappen. He has to say to Max Verstappen every single week, you are the greatest driver. That's what Christian Horner has to say to Max Verstappen to keep him. He has to say, you are the greatest driver. If Max Verstappen wants bacon and eggs in the morning, he's going to go and give it him. If Max Verstappen wants his feet rubbed by Red Bull, by Christian Horner, Christian Horner has to do it. If one day, one evening, he says, you know what? I want some champagne and caviar, Horner has to sort that out. You know where I'm going with it. Basically, he has to do everything for Max Verstappen to keep him. Because he knows when next year comes, Max Verstappen could say now, I'm with Red Bull. He could come out and say, Red Bull's my team, I'm not going anywhere. But we all know as racing fans how this F1 works. You go where the fastest car is, very simple. Everybody wants to be in the fastest car. Everybody wants to be in the fastest car. And at the moment, Red Bull is not the fastest car. You know what? You've got an argument for Mercedes. There's an argument for Mercedes that Mercedes is the second fastest car, especially the one what George Russell is driving. George Russell. Why are people sleeping on George Russell? I don't know. I do not know why people are sleeping on George Russell. George Russell, he's always been up there. The only time he made a mistake is when he came into the pit a bit early in Suzuka. And because Suzuka is more or less impossible to overtake, especially with these big boats of cars. The cars look like boats, let's face it. They're as wide as a boat. And because of these cars and being at Suzuka, it's very hard once they get in the dirty air. They can't overtake at Suzuka. And that's the only mistake he made when he pitted too early and then he got stuck behind the pack. If that wasn't Suzuka, I believe that he would have gotten a podium. Russell's fast and that car is fast. In my opinion, I think that's probably the second fastest car. If he's not, it's close to the Red Bull. So for Christian Horner to make that statement, he says, Horner hails, this is quote, Horner hails most competitive race to date for Red Bulls as he insists we were quicker than the McLaren and the quickest car. Delusional. Big up to Nagesh. Big up to you. Yep. George Russell does not deserve the hate. George Russell is a brilliant driver. Look at George Russell last season against Lewis Hamilton. I'm a big Lewis Hamilton fan. But when it came to qualifying, George had Lewis Hamilton on toast. And that gets slept on. It gets slept on. I've loved George Russell when he was in his junior days. Because he don't live that far from me. I'm from London, but he don't live that far from me. And I remember watching him in his junior days when he was in Formula 3, Formula 2, even before then, when in his early days, and I knew this guy was going to be special. I believe that next season, he's going to be one of the guys that is going to be contesting for the title. Maybe even this season. Maybe even this season, but next season comes when the regulations change, when it's all about the engine power. There's already rumours coming out of the Mercedes factory on the Dynamo that the Mercedes engine is very fast. Very fast. So we're going to see what happens there. But George Russell, I totally agree with you, Nagesh. Exactly. George doesn't deserve the hate he gets. People hate him because he was Lewis Hamilton's teammate. And because he was beating Lewis Hamilton in qualifying, they didn't like it. And that's in my opinion, because I'm a big Lewis Hamilton fan. I'm a big Lewis Hamilton fan. But I've got to admit, George Russell was beating Lewis Hamilton in qualifying. Would George Russell beat Lewis Hamilton 8 years ago? No. But this Lewis Hamilton, he was beating him. And you gotta take your hats off, man. You gotta take your hats off to George Russell. So, big up to everybody. Anyway, let's move on to Lando Norris. Guys, remember, smack up that like button. Show your support on the channel. And we'll go through the race briefly through the race because it was a long race, but it was a good race. Finally, we got a good race at the Jeddah. I do like Jeddah though. I do like Jeddah. I I gotta take my hats off to Jeddah, man. I do like Jeddah. It's a good track. So let's talk about it. Before we talk about it, actually, hit that like and subscribe. Now, Lando Norris. If you would have watched Lando Norris at the end of the race, the rumors were circling around the internet, and they were saying Lando Norris was crying in the interview, and I said, "Don't be silly. There's no way." Look, he's not gonna cry in an interview. I've never seen that in a Formula One driver in my opinion. Not in my lifetime. And I know he's an emotional guy. Lando Norris, he wears his heart on his sleeve. We all know that. When we see Lando Norris, you know he's an emotional guy, and everybody was saying he was crying in the interview. I watched the interview back. He wasn't crying. He was just emotional. He wasn't crying at all. You imagine being in the car for over an hour in that hot conditions in Jeddah. And usually when they used to go to Jeddah, it was more later in the year. Now they're going early in the year, where it's kind of Jeddah's Saudi Arabia's summer. And all he was doing is hot. His face around his eyes was all red. When he gets hot, Lando Norris tends to like have red eyes, and it looks like he's crying, but he wasn't crying. But he said in an interview, he goes, "I need to chill out." Norris, he said, this is a news article on the F1 website. "I need to chill out." Norris opens up on early season mindset as he admits to putting too much pressure on himself. And that's exactly what it is. He's putting too much pressure on himself. The thing about it, yeah, he's got the car. He's got the car to win the world title. It doesn't matter how fast your car is. If your head's not right up there, yeah, you're not winning nothing. And that's what it is with Lando Norris at the moment. His mindset is completely all over the place. If you look at Oscar Piastri, his teammate, completely opposite. Calm, collective. He's got that steel personality where nothing bothers him. A little bit like Michael Schumacher. If you go and watch Michael Schumacher and the F1 videos, go on YouTube. You can watch Michael Schumacher on YouTube and have a look at his steel personality. That reminds me of a bit like Oscar Piastri. Nothing bothers him at the moment. Seems calm, collective. He knows he's got a good car. Even when the first sector, when it first started the race, when he went in the corner against Max Verstappen, and Max Verstappen basically drove him off the track, like similar what he done to Lewis in 2021. And nothing bothers it, nothing fazed him, because things like that's gonna happen. You know what Max is like sometimes. When he knows he ain't got the fastest car, he'll take the mad moves. Oscar Piastri held his own. He didn't back out. He held his own, and he was good. So big up to Oscar Piastri, man. But Oscar Piastri he's like a veteran. He's like a veteran driver already. He's only been in Formula One for 2 years, yeah. And it's like he's been in Formula One for years. That's what it's been like for Oscar Piastri. He says, Nagesh said, "Lando is a super good driver. I like him. Sure, he's cocky, but wasn't Max too? Yeah, come on, bro. Hating on people because one is cocky. No, I know, bro. It's all good, man. Lando Norris is a very good driver. Most F1 drivers are cocky. It comes with the territory. I agree with Nagesh. It comes with the territory. Mans are cocky when they get to the Formula One. A lot of them were born with a silver spoon in their mouth. They come through the ranks. The dad probably owns half of the country. They all got money, millionaires. They've been millionaires since the age of 2. Nothing bothers them. It's not like they're going to go and work in a factory or work for the money. Everything's laid out for them. Their life is all laid out for them. No problem. And that, obviously, when you're cocky and rich and you're good at what you do, it comes to the territory. It is what it is, the Formula One drivers. But it is what it is, isn't it? Big up to Nagesh. Yeah, I know what you're saying now, Nagesh, but it is what it is. Look, let's start this review. Let's now. So, let's do the intro again.
On the brakes, Leclerc has that inside line. Perez goes off the track, comes the chicane, off goes Leclerc, through goes Hamilton. Unbelievable stuff.
Big up. Negesh says, I got my first rental car in 3 days, bro. You got some. Oh, bro, if you want some tips, go check out my Koku's, my partner in crime. Total Hammer's not here today. He's a go-karter. He can give you some tips. I'll give you the link in the chat room later on. But I know what he's saying. Don't worry about it. The only advice I can give you, bro, is just enjoy it. Don't take yourself serious. Just go and enjoy it. That's all I can say. Go and enjoy it, man. Enjoy the kart, enjoy the experience, and eventually you will get better. But enjoy it. Don't put no pressure on yourself. That's the advice I can give you, kid. Big up to you. Yeah, big up to you, bro. So let's start this review. This is F1 2025 round 5 Saudi Arabia Grand Prix race weekend review. Let's start with the qualifying briefly. Let's go over the qualifying. Q1, Lewis is struggling with the tyres like he's been all year. It's a shame about Lewis Hamilton. He's coming to Ferrari. Big expectations for Lewis Hamilton. New start, new team. Everything's new. And it's just not working out for him at the moment. Do I think Lewis can come back? Yeah, most definitely. It's not Lewis, it's the car. He's struggling with the car. Even Charles is struggling with the car, but Charles is doing a little bit better than Lewis because Charles has been with Ferrari for 7 years. They kind of forget about that in the media sometimes when they're kind of jumping on Lewis. They're saying that Lewis can't get the hang of the car. I think this is the 4th round, isn't it? The 4th or 5th round since he drove the car. Like I said, Oscar Piastri has been with the team for 7 years. Not Oscar Piastri, I mean Charles Leclerc has been with Ferrari for 7 years, and this is Lewis's 4th race. So people need to start chill out on Lewis. I think Lewis will adapt to the car. I don't think the car's as good as we all thought it was going to be. We all thought that Lewis Hamilton and Ferrari was going to challenge for the title. At the moment, it doesn't seem like it's happening, but we're going to see how it goes for the rest of the season. There's still a long way to go. There's going to be twists and turns on the way. But Lewis Hamilton was struggling with the car. All of a sudden, during Q1, a black bag appeared. Yes, a black bag from Aldi's appeared on the track. Not from Aldi's, really, it was a joke, but a black bag appeared on the track, and it just appeared on the track, and then it suddenly went off the track. So that was it. Nothing stopped. I don't think there was a flag, black flag out for it, for a black bag. I doubt it, but yeah, it just carried on after that. During Q1, Hadjar, for me, I think Hadjar is probably the best at the rookies, you know. People saying it's Antonelli and all that, but I think Hadjar's a baller. It just hasn't got the car underneath him, but I think out of all of them, I think Hadjar is probably one of the best out of the rookies just coming in this season. I think he's probably the best one, in my opinion. Hadjar. If you agree, let me know. I can see all the chat, man. I'll take all the questions after, bro. I can see your chat, I can see it, but I just need to get through this review. So in the first qualifying, Lewis was half a second down. He was half a second down on first place. This was Lewis Hamilton, and he was 2/10 down in the middle sector as well. So Lewis, at this point, when I was watching the race, when I was watching qualifying, I thought Lewis Hamilton was basically not going to get out of Q1. Because you could see he was struggling with the car. But what was weird to me, yeah, Lewis Hamilton gets the fastest, he gets a sprint race, he gets sprint qualifying, and everybody's all happy, and all of a sudden now, the speed's gone. I don't know what's going on. But it is what it is. Jack Doohan was getting told by Alonso. Alonso was waiting for Jack Doohan to hit the last sector. Basically, Alonso was trying to get into Q2. He got a massive tow off Jack Doohan. Martin Brundle was saying on the radio, on the commentary, Martin Brundle said Jack Doohan should have brake tested him and moved out the way to break the tow. If he would have done that, he might have crashed into Alonso, but it is what it is. I think Alonso managed to get into Q2. We know that Aston Martin don't really care about this car this year. They're more concentrating on next year. So this is just basically, this is nothing for Aston Martin. We'll see what happens. But I don't think Aston Martin's going to get anything really this season. They don't really care. They've openly admitted it. This car, they've gave up on the car. It's all about next season. Because when the new regulations change, they don't want to be on the back foot. They want to be in front. So, Gasly crashed out of Q1 as well. Again, Lewis Hamilton struggling. And at the end of Q1, the fastest was Verstappen, Norris and Piastri. On to Q2, the runs... first, Verstappen, Piastri and Lando went out first. Max was complaining about the floor like he always does every week. And I think when Max Verstappen complains about his car, I think he's just trying to play mind games. We know there's nothing wrong with that Red Bull car. It's the fact that the McLaren car is faster, and that's it. It's very simple, really. There's nothing wrong with the car. They're trying like to say, oh, there's something wrong with the floor. But let's face it, he always ends up getting the top 3 anyway. So basically, Max was complaining about the fall. Lewis in Q2, he was 7th. Still can't make any grounds on his teammate clearly faster in that car at the moment. They were talking about at this time in Q2 that next season that the Jeddah Grand Prix is going to be, the pit lane is going to be wider. So we'll see what happens to that. Q3, Piastri goes 1st, Lando goes 3rd, and it was in 3rd place. Piastri got the fastest time, but Lando hit the barrier. So Lando hits the barrier and goes out in Q3. So the pressure clearly getting to Lando Norris. And we're going to see what happens. I hope Lando doesn't fall off. I hope Lando manages to get him back. Because at the moment, I think Lando's 2nd in the table at the moment. But in Q3, it was really, really bad. So, yeah, shame for Lando. But at the end of the day, Piastri got pole. No, Max got pole. Because the reason why Max got pole was before, when Lando crashed his car, Max Verstappen still was on his scrub tyres. There were new tyres, but they called them scrub tyres. I think he only done like one lap with them, not a fast lap, a warm-up lap. So basically, the tyres were effectively still new. So he had 2 runs at the end. Most of the other drivers only had 1 run. Max Verstappen had 2 runs, so it was advantage Red Bull. So Max come out, done his 1st run with a decent time. 2nd run, he went on his brand new tyres. He came in, changed his tyres. The other drivers didn't have that luxury because, like I said, when Lando crashed, Max was still on his outlap. So Max went out, got the fastest time, and 2nd was Oscar Piastri. So this was setting up for a good race, for race day, man. It was good, setting up for a good race. So at this point, I still wasn't worried about McLaren. Even though Max beat him for pole, I always thought in my head that the McLaren guys could get him. You know, the McLaren guys could catch up with Max Verstappen because they've got the car. Because when you got the fastest car, yeah, in Formula 1, you guys know who's watching knows about Formula 1. There's less pressure on you, innit? There's less pressure. Because you know eventually, even if you don't get qualifying, you know you can catch him in the race. So, let's start with the race day review. Piastri gets a good start. Verstappen cuts him off on the apex. Brundle automatically. This is where I do like Brundle. I'm a fan of Brundle. I am a big fan of Brundle. I'm a big advocate of Martin Brundle. But when in 2021, when Max Verstappen, I know I'm going back in history, but I'm only doing it briefly. In 2021, when Max Verstappen cut Lewis off 3 times at that same track, Brundle says there was nothing wrong with it. There was nothing wrong with it. Max, what Max done was correct, right? But as soon as Max Verstappen does it to one of the McLaren guys, which was Oscar Piastri, the first thing Brundle come out and said, no, the corner was Piastri. There was no way Max would have made that corner. And straight away he said, no, that's going to be a penalty. Now I wish you would have said the same thing when Max Verstappen done it to Lewis, but we move. So Piastri gets a good start. Max Verstappen, you know how he is, how aggressive he gets when he gets to wheel to wheel. Piastri did not pull out. He held his line, and Max Verstappen cut the apex and got in front. As soon as that happened, there was an incident. Tsunoda hit Gasly, and Gasly went into the wall. Tsunoda did go into the wall briefly, but there was no damage to the car at this point. So Tsunoda managed to drive off and go into the pit lane because they had the black flag. But Gasly, his car was eliminated out of the race. So there was Gasly. I don't think there was a penalty on Tsunoda. I think it was a racing incident. But we always get that at Jeddah. When they went into the pit lane, they were looking at Tsunoda's car. Tsunoda's car was clearly out of shape. It wasn't right. So they turned off the engine. As soon as they turned off the engine, we knew that Tsunoda was at the race as well. So as soon as the race started, Tsunoda and Gasly both out the race. Safety car, Oscar was ahead. And during the safety car, Oscar came out on the radio and he said, listen, I'm not having this, yeah? He didn't say I'm not having this. He just basically said there was no way Max, and he said it in a calm and collective way. He said there's no way Max would have made that corner. I totally agree. There was no way. If you go back and watch it, pause, frame by frame by frame, there was nowhere for Max to go. There was no way he was going to make that corner. But we know what Max is like. He's not going to back out. So what he did, he went over the apex and he stayed in front and he said, you know what? Let's see what happens. So lap 3, the safety car ended. Oscar's still talking to his engineer, but in a calm, collective way, not stressed, because you knew at this point there was no way he was going to withstand that first place. All of a sudden, Max received a 5-second penalty. Brundle's saying that's not really a good penalty. It should have been at least a 10-second penalty, because at this point, Max was still in front and it was clear air. So they gave him a 5-second time penalty. So if Max would have pulled out in 5 seconds, that penalty would have been irrelevant. Similar to what happened with 2021 in the Monza with Lewis Hamilton. When they gave him a penalty and it went to the next track, it was effectively useless. So, but the one thing that Oscar Piastri had in his back pocket, he had a faster car. So we know all he has to do is get within DRS, which he was capable of doing because he's got the fastest car, get between DRS and he'll get Max Verstappen. So Max 5-second time penalty, lap 5, DRS range. Piastri was within DRS range of Max Verstappen. Lap 6, Piastri fastest, gaining. He got the fastest lap, and he was at lap 6. He was gaining on Max Verstappen. We knew at this point of the race that Piastri was going to pass Max Verstappen. We knew it was going to happen. We knew it was going to happen. It was just a matter of time when. Norris and Hagar was starting on the hard tires. Remember at the beginning of the race, the only two racers on the hard tires was Norris and Hagar. But in the end, as the race progressed, hard tires ended up being the best tire. Who would have ever thought? That's what practice for. I don't understand why they don't practice more on the hard tires. It's crazy, but it is what it is. I'm not no engineer. I'm just a guy on YouTube chatting. So Norris passes Sainz at lap 7, and so Norris passes Sainz. Sainz couldn't fight it. He knew his fight is not with McLaren, so he just passed Sainz, and Norris on lap 7 went into 7th place. He was trying to get back into the top 3, which he was capable of doing because again he's got the car. Lap 13, Lando passes Lewis Hamilton. This was a weird one. Lando passes Lewis Hamilton to get P6, and then Lewis Hamilton got him on the DRS, passed him, and this happened a couple of times. So Lando passed Lewis. Lewis got the toe on him, passed him again. Lando tried the same thing in the same position, passed him again, and it was weird. And the engineer came on the radio and said to him, "Get close to him." The engineer said, "Play the game, strat 8, turn the engine up." Basically, strat 8 on the engine is turning the engine up. And lap 15, Lando finally passes Lewis Hamilton, and that was a 3rd time lucky. But the thing about it, for me, I think this is where Lando, I think his race might have been lost. Not the race, but as for getting 3rd place, because he spent too much time behind Lewis Hamilton. Really should have passed Lewis Hamilton straight away, but because he wasn't playing the game and didn't get close enough, and he didn't do strat 8 to turn his engine up just to get close, so when they get on the DRS, he passes him, and then Lewis can't get nothing back. But he never made a mistake there, in my opinion. Basically, yeah, and that's what happened with that. So lap 19, Piastri was 3 seconds. He was the fastest on there. Max pits at lap 22, and then Piastri passes him. So basically, Piastri pits on lap 19, got a 3.4 seconds, slight delay in the pits. And then lap 22, Max pits, which I thought it was a mistake. I think Max should have pitted on lap 20, but he waited a bit longer. And then he pitted on lap 22, and then Oscar Piastri was ahead at this time. The commentators come out and said, "Look, don't worry about it. Verstappen will catch him." And I thought, I don't think so. Lap 35 was all about how Lando can gain the top 3, and it was on the medium tyres then, because he pitted on lap 35, put the medium tyres. Leclerc was gaining on George into 3rd place. So George, at this point of the race, was struggling. I don't know why he was struggling. They didn't really explain why George was struggling. It was weird because George was going so well in qualifying. He was going so well in the race. But Leclerc was gaining on George, who was in 3rd place. George was on the hard tyres. I'm not sure how many laps George done on the tyres. Lewis is saying, why am I struggling with the tyres? So Lewis Hamilton was talking to his engineer on the radio. So look, why am I struggling on these tyres? Lewis Hamilton was 1 second slower than Charles Leclerc. 1 second slower. So I don't know what's wrong with that car, but he was 1 second slower than Charles Leclerc. Lap 38 DRS on the gearbox of George. Basically, Leclerc was on George's gearbox. He got the slipstream and then he passed him, and that was it. That was Charles Leclerc into third place. Lawson with a 10-second time penalty for leaving the track and gaining an advantage. Or Lawson's F1 career at the moment going from good to, from bad to worse. But it is what it is. I don't think Lawson cares at this point. Lap 41. Lap 41. Lando Norris clears George to go into fourth place with ease, and then he was trying to chase down Leclerc, but he weren't having it. Again, Lando Norris lost so much time behind Lewis Hamilton in them earlier laps, and I think that cost him at the end. He was gaining on Charles, but it just wasn't enough. And at the end, Oscar Piastri got the win. Second was Max Verstappen, and third was Charles Leclerc. Sorry. So for me, I think this was a good race for the McLarens. I thought, look, let's face it, like Max Verstappen, he got second, and I think he's not. No one's ever happy with second, but people are gonna say if he wouldn't have got that penalty, he would have won. But if he would have stayed behind, if he wouldn't have cut across and stayed behind Oscar, and he would have stayed behind Oscar Piastri, I think Oscar Piastri would have beat him anyway. Because at the end of the race, go and watch the end of the race, the last two sectors, fastest sectors was Oscar Piastri, and he basically was just telling people, I've still got this time. I don't need to burn out my tires, only if I need to. And he proved at the end he got the fastest sector 2 and sector 3. But overall, Lando Norris got the fastest lap, so that proved that the McLaren's got the fastest car as well. And I think that Lando Norris should be confident going into the next race. He shouldn't feel down. It's easy for me to say, yeah, being a YouTuber, talk about Formula 1 and talk about football and sit here. It's easy for me to say, I know. Of course it is. I'm not in his position. I haven't got all the sponsors watching me or whatever, yeah. But at the end of the day, right, he's a professional Formula 1 driver. He's been in Formula 1 for a long time now. He's not a rookie anymore. And all he's got to do is calm down. If he wants to go and see a sports psychologist, go and do it. Get his head straight, because he could win a world title this year. It's not over. It's not over. It is not over. I'm going to tell the standings now. Where is he in there? I'm going to see the standings. The driver standings now. Oscar Piastri, he's got 99 points. And Norris is 10 points behind him. That's it. Max Verstappen's in third with 87 points. So Lando Norris just needs to chill, get his head straight, and win this world title if he wants to. That's it, because at the moment, Piastri looks like he's the champion just waiting to be crowned. He's waiting to be crowned. Very simple. So my advice to Lando Norris is chill out, get your head straight, and make sure that you're ready for the next race, which is going to be in Miami, which I will be covering on my channel. I'll be doing a weekend preview all about Formula 1. I might do a video this week as well, Flaming Tarmac, talk about the news about Formula 1 as well. But that's all he has to do. He's in second place. He's in the fastest car. He's only 10 points behind his teammate. All it takes for Lando Norris to do is go to Miami, win Miami. Piastri gets third. He's back in front. Very simple, more or less. He's back in front. 1 or 2 races. He just got to be smart, hold his nerve, because him being emotional, the other drivers will play on it. They will play on it, and this is Formula 1. They don't care. Everybody wants to win the big one, to be world champion, and there's no friends in Formula 1. And I'm sick of it when he keeps on saying, oh, Max is my friend. Max is not your friend, bro. Max Verstappen is not your friend. When you're on that track, enemies. You remember when Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton used to be friends? Not anymore. This is Formula 1. You have to win. Winning is winning. And it doesn't matter by an inch or a mile, like Vin Diesel says.
Ask any racer, any real racer. It don't matter if you win by an inch or a mile. Winning's winning.
Winning by any means necessary within the rules. And that's what you got to do, is go out and do your thing, man. I know Oscar can do it. I know Oscar can win the world title. He's got it. He's proved he can do it. He's got the mentality. But Lando can do it as well. They've got the two fastest drivers on the grid. The two best cars are the two McLaren boys. That's it. And that's it. Very simple. Fastest car. So I'm going to answer the chat a bit. Big up to you, Negesh. True that. Yes, sir. Hajar has potential. Yeah, he has. Hajar's cold. I loved him. And yeah, I remember him at F2 as well. He's cold, bro. He's cold. Trust me. yeah, I got it. But big up to everybody, man. Thanks for watching. I got 5 people watching. I'm going to be heading off in a minute. But big up to everybody, man. This has been a good review. It was a good race, good weekend. I'm going to be back later when I'm doing a watch along, a football watch along later on my channel in about half an hour. So if you like the football thing, come over on the channel. I'll be going live in about half an hour. But yeah, man, this is it was a good race. But Lando Norris does not need to be negative. He doesn't need to be negative. He can always be delusional like Christian Horner, and Horner says that the Red Bull is the fastest car. Very delusional. I don't know where he's getting that from, but it is what it is. Big up to everybody. Big up to the man them. Big up to the woman them. Thanks for watching. Remember, guys, hit them likes. Big up. See you later, guys. Big up.
On the brakes, Leclerc